round-the-world tour?
Well, first of all, I renewed my very close acquaintance with Mr. Diefenbaker, the Prime Minister of Canada. We had some matters of common interest that we could discuss, including the question of airline services between Canada and Australia. I wasn't there very long, but it was quite good. In Washington, well, my time was cut about a little by the fact that Mr. Dulles died, and that naturally brought about a considerable rearrangement of programs.
Did you find his funeral a very impressive occasion?
Well, I would think so. I was in one of the cars, and you never get the impression if you're in the procession.
I meant the
Except
turnout
that there
of
were
national...
enormous numbers of people there.
Mm-hmm.
And in the cathedral itself, it was very, very impressive to see people coming in from the other side of the world who had flown in specially for it, Gromyko and Adenaar and Brentano and Lance from Holland. It was very impressive.
You had the 4 foreign ministers over from Geneva during that time. Did you form an impression of how they felt that the talks were going there?
No, well, I had no discussion with any of them except Herter. And, of course, so far as he's concerned, the talks haven't got very far.
No.
And I suppose all of them would make a negative report. The point I was making to him, and that I've made publicly, is that I don't think that you can write a conference off as a dead loss just because the other man stands pat and says no or offers you threats. Because I think that the presentation of the case, an honest case, fairly presented, not involving any greed on the part of the Western world, but providing for the recapturing of some freedom for other people. I think that the effect of this case, even though it's rejected in the conference, is very great.
Well,
now, from our point of view in Australia, of course, don't forget, perhaps we see that more clearly than you would here, because Southeast Asia contains a number of uncommitted countries.
Quite so.
And if they're influenced by the honest case for the free world, that's all to the good.
What do you feel, sir, about the results of the Singapore elections which have just been announced?
Well, I've literally heard about them 10 minutes ago, and I've given them no thought, and therefore I'd prefer not to make a comment.
You're not anxious about a government controlled by the People's Action Party?
Well, I make no comment.
Mm-hmm. Well, now, what are you going to be discussing with the Prime Minister while you're here, sir?
Oh, the state of the world. We'll make a tour d'horizon. I want to know about his visit to Moscow.
Yes.
I want to, I engage in correspondence with him, but
Right.
there's nothing like learning at first hand how all these things are going.
Will you be seeing the Queen while you're here, sir?
Yes, I'm seeing her tomorrow, I think.
I see. Do you hope to be discussing the appointment of a new Governor-General to succeed Sir William Slim?
Yes.
Have you anything further to say about that?
No, I've already had one experience of doing this.
Quite.
And what the practice that I established then, and which I'll follow again, is that I like to discuss this, talk this out with the Queen, without having any final views in my own mind about people, talk about the kind of people, and end up with somebody who is completely satisfactory to Her Majesty and completely satisfactory to us.
What is the possibility of Princess Margaret making a visit to Australia in the future?
I don't know.
That's not at present on the
I don't
card.
know.
Australia. Are you getting the right sort of people in the right numbers?
By and large, I would say yes to both of those questions. Our program is 115,000 a year. There's been an increase in the proportion of British migration during the last 12 months. On the whole, I think migration has proved satisfactory. And we have maintained it in spite of some little movement in the employment figures. For example, we've maintained our migration because we think that there's nothing that so encourages business and production to have confidence in the future as the knowledge that the population, that is to say the number of clients, is rising. As it is in Australia, 2.5% a year.
Yes. And
It's one of the interesting things that our population is today rising more rapidly percent than that of Japan.
really, yes.
Yeah.
And what about British investment in your industry? Are you satisfied with the level of that?
Oh, I think it's been very good. Total private investment into Australia, I'm putting all government borrowing on one side, has been about £100 million a year for the last 2 or 3 years, and a pretty substantial fraction of that before. And the largest single source is still Great Britain, which is very interesting. We get a lot in from America, and that's very good, but there is more from Great Britain,
It's a sort of financial vote of
which is very satisfactory. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I